This is the Everyday AI Show, the everyday podcast where we simplify AI and bring its power to your fingertips. Listen daily for practical advice to boost your career, business, and everyday life.
I've taught tens of thousands of people about ChatGPT, and there's three very common mistakes that most people get wrong. And it gives them bad results, and it causes ChatGPT to hallucinate. And one of those three things we'll be talking about today, which is tokens. So if you want to know more about what tokens are, why they're important, or even if you want to know, how can I get ChatGPT to stop lying to me? Today's episode is for you. So thank you if you're joining us live. My name is Jordan Wilson. I am the host of Everyday AI. We are your daily live stream podcast and free daily newsletter, helping everyday people like me and you not just understand what's going on in the world of generative AI, but how we can actually use it all, right? Because there's no point in just reading AI news all day and stacking up all these new tools that you'll never try. That's not what Everyday AI is about. We are about helping you actually understand and actually use AI. So I'm actually excited to talk about tokens. It's a little dorky, but before we do, get your questions in now. If you're joining us on the live stream, thank you. If you are listening on the podcast, don't worry. Check those show notes. We always leave important links so you can find more and come back. Actually, we usually have a pretty good conversation going each day in LinkedIn. All right, so let's talk about the AI news before we get into tokens. So speaking of tokens and large language models, a new report suggests that even Google employees are questioning Google's own large language model, Google Bart. So this comes from a Bloomberg report that says there's Google product managers, designers, and even engineers that are debating the AI tool's effectiveness and utility. And some are even questioning, according to this report, whether the resources going into development are worth it. So right now, Google's Bard uses the Palm 2 model, but there are big hopes for the upcoming Gemini model. What do you all think? When I use Google Bard, I'm not impressed. It's probably the large language model that I use least. I don't actually find a lot of utility for it at all. I'd hate to say that, but I hope the Gemini update changes that. All right, next piece of news. There are new calls for AI regulation in Europe. So there is a new report that was produced by the IE University Center for Governance of Change. So this recent IE University study showed that 68% of Europeans want their government to introduce stricter safeguards to keep AI from taking their jobs. So it's very interesting, just the difference of opinion between different countries. I don't know if you'd see that same percentage here in the US, and I also don't think the US is going to do really anything, at least anytime soon, to actually regulate AI's ability to take over jobs, because I do think it's going to happen, and I don't think, hey, Wall Street hates employees. All right, our last piece of news is Adobe is making big moves in the creative and Gen AI space. So they just kicked off their Adobe Max yearly conference, unveiling a lot of new updates, new pieces of software, new updates to the software, all that good stuff. So a couple things to keep in mind if you're a generative AI fan and you want to know, hey, what does Adobe have up its sleeve? A week after Canva's big Magic Studio update. So Adobe's announced their new Firefly vector model, where objects can be more easily reshaped. They announced their Firefly design model, which is text to design, and updates to these models, obviously. And then new and improved Firefly image model 2, which is its upgraded text to image model. And there's more. So if that was helpful, if you want to know more what's going on with those stories or anything else, make sure to go to youreverydayai.com, sign up for that free daily newsletter, and we'll help you understand what's going on in the world of AI. Let's understand tokens, shall we? Hey, good morning to everyone joining us. Michael, thank you for joining us. Harvey, Dr. Harvey Castro, Woozy, thank you for joining us. Everyone, some of our regulars, some new faces. Bronwyn, thank you for joining us. Good afternoon to Bronwyn. Good morning to most of us, like Leonard. Harold, good morning. It's good to see y'all. Like, let me know what are your questions about ChatGPT and tokens. And when I'm talking about ChatGPT and tokens, this is actually applicable for other large language models, but they all handle tokens a little differently, process everything a little differently. So at least in this conversation, we're going to be talking about ChatGPT and its use cases of tokens. So let me start at the end. I teased in the show. I've helped teach tens of thousands of people ChatGPT, whether it's here on the podcast and the live stream, in our newsletter. We have every week we do 2 courses on prompting, and they're free. We don't sell anything at the end either. That's our Prime Prompt Polish course, PPP. If you want access to it, we don't even put it on our website. It's a little secret for our listeners, for our viewers. So if you want access, just type in PPP in the comments, email me PPP, I'll send it to you. But one of the things that we teach in there, one of the things that most people get wrong, is ChatGPT's memory, because people will say, "Hey Jordan, what's going on? I started using ChatGPT. Things were going great, and then it just started to hallucinate out of nowhere. And now all of a sudden, things that ChatGPT was getting right before, it's no longer getting correct." Okay, and that is because tokens. All right, so very long story short, and I'm going to put this in everyday person speak. Okay, I'm going to try to not speak in too dork. So I took my dork hat off this morning, try to put my everyday person hat on. Tokens, simply put, are the way that ChatGPT and other large language models understand the words that we give it. So it's actually strange. ChatGPT doesn't, and I'm going to show you here on screen, ChatGPT doesn't technically even understand the words. It essentially assigns tokens to the values that we put into ChatGPT and other large language models. So it actually breaks everything down into tokens. And that essentially, in a short number of words, it allows ChatGPT to kind of have this natural language processing ability, this NLP ability. And that's what allows it to go back and forth with us, because all ChatGPT is, in essence, is the world's smartest autocomplete that you can steer. But it does that by breaking down. So a token is either a word, a part of a word, a symbol, right? And then all ChatGPT does in other large language models is it predicts what is going to come next based on those tokens that were inputted and based on what it understands in its brain. Okay. And that's the other important part. And there's a lot of misinformation out here, and I'm here to also set the record straight, as I sometimes try to do. All right. Because you hear all these, hey, 4K, 8K, 32K, 100K tokens. Like, what does that even mean? All right. I'm going to show you a live demonstration, but let me just break it down. So right now, depending on what version of ChatGPT you use, it has a different memory, right? So sometimes when I talk about memory, essentially that is its ability to recall tokens in its head before it starts to forget. Okay. So right now, if you are using ChatGPT, it is different than if you are using what's called OpenAI's Playground, or if you're using the API, it has a different memory. But if you are using ChatGPT, like most of us are, the ChatGPT Plus plan, it is 8,000 tokens. Okay. And it breaks down to, it's roughly 4 tokens is 1 character. It's a little tricky, but more or less at about 8,000 tokens, you're somewhere around 6,500 words. Okay. So think of it like that. Every piece of that back and forth conversation counts as a token. Okay. And then after you get to that roughly 8,000 inside ChatGPT, it is going to start to forget whatever was at the top. So it can always recall the last 8,000 tokens. But as your conversations get longer, it's going to start to forget the things at the top. All right. So before we jump in here, I'm going to see what questions we have, but I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to walk everyone through this a little bit. Great question here from Jackie. Jackie, thank you for joining us. Asking, with Amazon's money now with Anthropic, how will cloud change? Cloud. I don't know. I don't know. I hope It gains the ability to access the internet. That is one of the things why I don't use cloud hardly at all. But Jackie, it's actually important you bring up cloud because this is kind of memory. And when we talk about tokens, the Cloud 2 from Anthropic, people say, oh, I don't use ChatGPT because it doesn't have a great memory. Correct. And then they say, oh, I use Cloud 2 because it has 100K tokens. So it has a much larger memory. Also correct. But here's the reality, folks. You can't really do anything like comparatively. When you talk about the power, and I'll say the untapped potential of ChatGPT, it is because of its plugins. Like, I can't talk about that on the show enough. And I can't remind people, who say, oh, I don't use ChatGPT. I use Bart, or I use Bing Chat, or I use Anthropic or Pi or Poe or anything. And I say, why? I just said, that just means that you don't understand the power and the potential within ChatGPT and plugins. But obviously the downside of that is that small memory. Okay. So let's investigate that a little more. All right. I'm done ranting. Let me share my screen and hopefully we can learn a little bit about ChatGPT together. Let's try, shall we? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you, hopefully live, right? I always test this, but things happen a little differently. So I'm sharing my screen here. I am inside ChatGPT. I am in GPT-4 and I am in plugins mode and I have internet connected plugins. That doesn't matter for this conversation, but I tell people always, if you are starting a new conversation in ChatGPT, always give it access to plugins. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, my name is Jordan. I'm from Chicago. Okay. And also, hopefully, if you're joining live, you can see this little thing in the corner. I do have a Chrome extension that I've covered before. I've talked about it in the newsletter. I've done a review on it. And obviously now my ChatGPT is not responding. That's always how it works. You test something right before, and then it stops working. Okay, there we go. So I do have this little token counter up here in the right-hand corner. Okay. This isn't there by default, but and you should be using something like this, especially if you're in a new chat, so you know when ChatGPT starts to lose its memory, right? So I said, my name is Jordan. I'm from Chicago. ChatGPT said, hello, Jordan from Chicago. How may I assist you? Okay. I'm going to say, who won the 1991 NBA Finals, right? One thing I hate doing, y'all, is typing live because my mic is so close to my face. I'm typing like this, little T-Rex arms. Okay. So I just asked a question. I just want you to see this. And I'm going to say, what is my name and where am I from? Okay. So the reason I did this is I asked another question, right? About something not related. Well, the Chicago Bulls are the best. Obviously, the Chicago Bulls won the 1991 NBA Finals. But then after ChatGPT asked me that, then I asked it again, what is my name and where am I from? Okay. And it obviously got it correct. And I want to just quickly call out the tokens. So we are at 157 tokens, right? So ChatGPT still has all of its memory. So now what I'm going to do, and please allow me, because I want to do this live. Okay. So I'm telling ChatGPT, I'm sending you information about my podcast. Please summarize everything I send. Okay. I know I didn't spell hardly anything right. Again, I'm typing like this. It's hard to do. So here's what I'm doing now. And I'm going to hopefully do a decent job at explaining it as I go along. I'm going to quickly, and this hopefully will let you all see this too. I'm going to quickly make ChatGPT lose its memory. All right. Because people always think, oh, it won't happen to me. Yeah, no, ChatGPT's smart. It's a quadrillion-dollar company. It doesn't forget anything. It does. So if you keep an eye on the token counter, I just essentially pasted in a bunch of information.
Are you still running in circles trying to figure out how to actually grow your business with AI? Maybe your company has been tinkering with large language models for a year or more, but can't really get traction to find ROI on Gen AI. Hey, this is Jordan Wilson, host of this very podcast. Companies like Adobe, Microsoft, and NVIDIA have partnered with us because they trust our expertise in educating the masses around generative AI to get ahead. And some of the most innovative companies in the country hire us to help with their AI strategy and to train hundreds of their employees on how to use Gen AI. So whether you're looking for ChatGPT training for thousands or just need help building your front-end AI strategy, you can partner with us too, just like some of the biggest companies in the world do. Go to youreverydayai.com/partner to get in contact with our team, or you can just click on the partner section of our website. We'll help you stop running in those AI circles and help get your team ahead and build a straight path to ROI on Gen AI.
All right, that's all I did here. It's notes. I actually did a bunch of research with internet connected plugins when I originally built the podcast. I just had ChatGPT scrape the internet, all the best ways to build a podcast, start a podcast. So even for me, I started, I don't talk about this a lot, and I'm just kind of rambling on as I eat up ChatGPT's memory here. So if you're listening on the podcast, don't worry, this will be done in 2 or 3 minutes. We're at about 5,000 tokens, but I had a daily podcast actually back in, what was the year? 2008, which is crazy to think about now. So I kind of forgot, it's like, hey, what's the best equipment? What's the best software? What should I be using? So I use ChatGPT like I think most people should, using an internet connected plugin, having it read. Probably I fed it dozens of articles, hey, 50 best ways to grow your podcast, how to start a podcast, blah, blah, blah. It probably would have taken me, I don't know, a week or more to read all these articles that I essentially summarized with ChatGPT because it knew what I wanted. And it knew exactly how to get that information. Right. Obviously my ChatGPT is being a little wonky. We're almost there. Thank you for sticking around. I know this is a lot to make a simple point, right? But we're almost there. And that's the other thing, y'all. Like I tell everyone this. That, when I give you all information on this show, or if you take our Prime Prompt Polish, the free prompting course that we do twice a week, we update that thing twice a week. We update it before it goes live because things in ChatGPT change all the time. Okay. I am pushing this over on the token limit just because I want to make sure. Okay. We test everything. So when we give you recommendations or when we're talking about tokens, ChatGPT losing its memory, because here's the thing, there's people out there, people who have quote unquote followings and are teaching people about AI. And they're like, oh, ChatGPT has a 32,000K token limit. It's like, no, not really. Not for how people are using it. Yes, it does if you're using the API, if you're using the playground, but if you're using ChatGPT, people don't even truly understand this. And this is why so many people are getting everything wrong inside ChatGPT. It's because it doesn't. It has an 8K, and I'm proving it to you right now, right? So now we're finally there. We're at 9,000 tokens. I wanted to make sure to get to 9,000. So in the beginning, I said, what is my name? Where am I from? Because I told ChatGPT that, and that is at the top of our conversation, right? And I did a test right away, early on, right? I asked a question about the NBA finals, got it right. And then I went back, what's my name? Where am I from? ChatGPT got it right. So now when I ask, what is my name and where am I from? Okay. So now I'm typing that in because we've hit 9,000 tokens. And guess what ChatGPT says? I don't have access to personal data about individuals unless blah, 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 right? Guess what that means? It lost its memory. We hit that token limit, right? Now that I have this little token counter up here, I know that we're almost near 10,000 tokens. So I can be sure that ChatGPT lost its memory, right? So in our PPP course, we teach more about this. We give you ways using something we call a memory recall. We give you ways that you can get around this and avoid this. But I thought it was extremely important, right? Because we always talk about ChatGPT hallucinating. And there's usually two main reasons that ChatGPT hallucinates. Number one, you're using the wrong mode, right? I tell people there's very few instances you should ever in ChatGPT use anything except for plugins, right? Even advanced data analysis. Like if you've used the mode that was formerly called code interpreter, now it's called advanced data analysis. It's great for one sit down, right? So if you have any heavy data needs, if you need to do some coding, some web development, things like that, ADA is pretty good. But when you log in and log out or end a session or or resume the session on the other computer with ADA, when you upload files, because that's one of the biggest advantages of that mode is you can upload files. You oftentimes get an error that says it can no longer reach the file, right? I'm sure the engineers are hard at work on this, but I've recreated this error dozens of times. It's even one of the reasons why I don't use that mode very much, but you should probably be using the plugin mode for almost every single chat you start in ChatGPT, so you can give it access to the internet with an internet connected plugin, not browse with Bing. Don't get me started, right? So that's probably the second biggest thing, right? So number one is keeping ChatGPT's token limit, those 8,000 tokens, its memory, in mind first. And second is making sure you give it access to the internet. And you know what? I do get your questions in. This isn't going to be one of those 40-minute, 45-minute episodes. So get your questions in. If you have questions like Jay here, Jay says, believe ChatGPT paid version has 4x the tokens of 3. I believe, because I don't use GPT-3 and I don't test it. So again, don't even believe anything you read on a blog. Always test it yourself, right? Because number one, Jay, marketing, right? They'll say, oh, 32K tokens. It's like, oh, no, that's actually just the playground and the API. I believe GPT-3 has 4K tokens. Again, I haven't used it, so I haven't tested it. So it's not 4x the time of tokens. I believe it's just about double. Yes. So we have other questions coming in. Kevin says, I thought GPT-4 commercial had 4K tokens and GPT-4 enterprise had 8K. So no, I have, and I just showed you, GPT-4, the commercial or what's available to everyone. Actually, the best resource for this, and I'm sharing it on my screen now. Let me bring this up. Is actually this article from Microsoft. So yes, it hasn't been updated, but this goes down and it's actually more in-depth than anything on OpenAI's website, but it breaks down every single model, GPT-3 5 Turbo, even I believe this article even had the older models that were depreciated and are no longer available, but that's a great resource. Speaking of great resource, I do want to also talk about this, right? I should have started with this, but let's get back to real quick. What even is a token? So I want to talk about the word set, right? S-E-T, set. So what does that mean? The word set can mean a lot of different things, right? I actually looked this up. It's apparently the word set holds the world record for most definitions. It's like 32 or something, but the word set can mean so many different things. So you can set something down, right? A village can be set at the top of the hill. If you're from New England, like some of my family, sometimes they say I'm all set, right? Like I'm all good. If you play euchre like me, I love euchre. Does anyone else play euchre? When I played with my mom and stepdad about 3 weeks ago, and I got set a lot. So that's something in euchre, you get set, right? So the word set can mean so many different things. So that's why I actually wanted to bring up a tokenizer. We're going to get a little dorky, but I started the show by trying to explain a little bit that ChatGPT, it doesn't actually, in theory, understand your words as words per se, right? So when you give ChatGPT all this information, I'm going to show here, I'm going to zoom in on the screen. Let's look at how it even interprets what you put in and how it can actually process, use this NLP, this natural language processing, by converting all of your text into tokens to give it semantical meaning, right? To give it that contextual context, right? Contextual context. That's repetitive. But so when I put in here, I say, hi, my name is Jordan and I'm from Chicago. That's what I was talking about earlier, right? Let's do it again live. So hi, my name, you can see it count. So when I type in, I've said, hi, my name is, like I'm Eminem from 99. And we're at 5 tokens already. So these are shorter words. So 4 words, 5 tokens, but it's all by character. So again, it looks at by tokens, words, parts of a word, symbols, everything counts a little different. So I'm saying, hi, my name is Jordan and I'm from Chicago. Okay. So that's 12 tokens. But what's really cool down here is I can see the text. Okay. And it's color coded, but then I can actually click token IDs, which is very interesting. So this is now when I click token IDs, you no longer see words. Okay. And this is why large language models can actually be confusing the more that you dive into it. But this just shows you, in the end, ChatGPT doesn't remember or piece together your words. It thinks and processes in tokens. So it applies all these different things. And I'm actually curious because I haven't done this yet. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to copy and paste because I'm curious. I'm copying and pasting just some examples I had on the word set. So now in this tokenizer, it says set something down. The village is set on the top of the hill. And then it says I'm all set. And then I'm also typing in euchre, you're set. Okay. So what's pretty interesting, this can also show you maybe when ChatGPT is not going to understand something. So now I have the word set on here 4 times. And again, I'm not 100% sure, I'm not a tokenization expert, but from what I believe now, when I can look at the text and look at the token IDs, and it does color coding. So I know for the set something down and the village is set on top of the hill, the word set there is in 2 different colors. Okay. Which is interesting, which again, to me means that ChatGPT is using this tokenization to use the context around that and processing via tokens. And it knows that that's different, right? Whereas in the examples of I'm all set and euchre, you're set, those are the same color. The word set is the same color, probably because that's not enough context. Saying I'm all set. If you tell ChatGPT I'm all set and you say nothing else, and that's how you start a conversation, by this tokenization breakdown, I can probably go to assume that ChatGPT is going to have no clue what you're talking about. Or if I just say euchre, you're set, same thing, because it looks like it's assigning a similar token value to I'm all set and euchre, you're set, even though those are 2 very different things. And even if I look at the token ID, I'm not going to be able to break all these down because the token IDs are essentially, it assigns 2 to, it looks like 4-digit numbers. So I don't have time to compare them all, but I'm assuming that even the word set there, when we put it into the tokenizer, we got very different values. All right. I'm taking off my dork cap. Sorry, I forgot to let you all know that I put my dork cap back on, took my everyday AI hat off, but now it's back on. So I want to recap and thank you all for sticking around. Thank you for your comments. And if you do have any other questions, I'll try to get to them quick. So Mike with a good comment here saying my token counter doesn't look like that, but I have the same extension. Weird. Yeah, actually, Michael, I keep 2 token counters active because one of them kind of gets a little finicky and it doesn't always work. So I actually keep 2 of them active. Sometimes one works, sometimes the other works. There's only 3 of them on the Chrome. It's a Chrome extension. There's only 3 of them. Not a single one works consistently. So I keep 2 of them active just in case. All right. Yeah. Tanya, thank you for joining. Tanya says, thanks again. Never heard of these secrets either. Love this show. So thank you. Let me quickly recap. We're going to bring this to a close. I know sometimes when it's just me on the show, I go into old man Jordan mode and I shake my fist and I rant for 45 minutes. That's not today. Today, I wanted to have a very simple explanation of tokens, talk about what they are and why they matter in AI, specifically in ChatGPT. So like I said, yes, there are other large language models that have much bigger token memories, like Cloud 2 has 100,000 token memory, which is fantastic, right? Huge memory. But if I'm being honest, it can't do a lot. So if you are working in ChatGPT, and this is why this is important, The two reasons that you're probably getting hallucinations is you're not using, number one, you're not using ChatGPT plugins with an internet connected plugin. Again, we go over this more in our Prime Prompt Polish Pro course, which is also free. So if you want access to that, just, hit me up. I'll tell you how. We talk a little bit more about how to stay current with plugins and how to not hallucinate with plugins, because all internet connected plugins are not created equal. I have a spreadsheet that I've shown on this on the show multiple times where we've tested, more than 20 internet connected plugins on 4 different criteria. Not all of them work the same. Some of them, even those internet connected plugins, will lead to hallucinations. So you need to use the right one. So that's the first thing, is not using internet connected plugins when you start a chat. Again, there's really no reason to use the default mode. In ChatGPT, there's no real reason to use Browse with Bing when you're using an internet connected ChatGPT plugin. And again, yes, there are some limited use cases to use advanced data analysis. Personally, I find better results by using a plugin like someone here in the comments mentioned Notable, which is a great one that does some advanced computation. Wolfram Alpha does some good computation work as well. So number one, hallucinations. If you want to get rid of it, use internet connected plugins. Use that mode when you start a new chat in ChatGPT. Yes, you have to have the paid version of ChatGPT Plus, which is $20 a month. Well worth it. And number two, our conversation for today, tokens. So I hope that going over this, answering a couple of questions, showing a hallucination on screen, right? So if you're joining us live, I showed this example, right? Where I started a new chat. I said, my name's Jordan. I'm from Chicago. I asked another question. Then I said, what's my name? Where am I from? Got it right. Then I fed in just a bunch of nonsense, watched our token count get up to about 9,000, right? And I said, what is my name and where am I from? And ChatGPT didn't know anymore. That is why you need to keep tokens in mind when you use ChatGPT, right? Anyone that's been through our free PPP course knows this. And they're getting much better results because of this. But I hope this was helpful. I hope you know a little bit more about tokens, what they are, why they're important. And I hope you can join us back again for another edition of Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all.
And that's a wrap for today's edition of Everyday AI. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps keep us going. For a little more AI magic, visit youreverydayai.com and sign up to our daily newsletter so you don't get left behind. Go break some barriers, and we'll see you next time.